Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about your leadership shadow. We all have one, and learning how to manage it is really a game changer in our leadership development. I will explain what a leadership shadow is, why it is important to understand it, and most importantly, how to manage it. And I'm going to demonstrate this with this backpack and these water bottles here. But let's start by defining what I mean by referring to a leadership shadow. In psychology, the term shadow refers to unconscious aspects of our personality, traits, desires, and impulses that we either are not aware of or we reject them because they don't align with our self-image or societal expectations. When I talk about a leadership shadow, I mean the unconscious negative impact that you as a leader may have on your team, your organization, or your personal effectiveness. Whether that's through your behaviors, your attitudes, or your decisions. We all have a shadow. Let's not fool ourselves. And the more we understand it, the easier it becomes to manage it. Let me give you a few examples of leadership shadows that I frequently see in my coaching practice, so that you know what kind of things I'm talking about. Perhaps you are an assertive leader who prides yourself on knowing exactly what needs to be done. You're direct and honest with people because you believe this gets you results quickly. And this approach may indeed have served you well in many situations. But how aware are you of the unintended consequences? Do you sometimes create unnecessary conflicts because your directness isn't always the most effective way to get what you want? Do you sometimes alienate people or damage relationships because you always turn up in full battle gear? And how much of your assertiveness is driven by a sense of righteousness, an unconscious belief that you alone hold the truth? Or consider another leadership example. Imagine you are a visionary tech entrepreneur, full of inspiring ideas. You see yourself as a leader who disrupts the status quo and drives innovation. But what if your mind moves faster than your team can follow? What if your flood of ideas isn't just creativity, but a form of escapism, an unconscious way of avoiding present challenges? And what if in your excitement you overwhelm your team, create chaos, and neglect core business fundamentals? Or let's take a third leadership example. Perhaps you see yourself as a people-orientated servant leader. You have empathy, you anticipate other people's needs, and you dedicate yourself to serving your team, your company, and your community. But how clear are you about the true drivers behind your desire to serve? What if, deep down, this is really more about your need to be liked? What if it is pride, wanting to be seen as indispensable? And what if, in your effort to help and be the hero who always saves the day, you actually disempower and smother people? These are just a few examples of very common leadership shadows. There are many more. Perhaps one of them already resonates with you, or maybe your leadership shadow is entirely different, or at this point you have no idea what your leadership shadow is. Whatever your situation, you may wonder, how does all of this matter? Well, that's what I've got this backpack for. Let me illustrate the point I want to make with a metaphor. Imagine this backpack represents your leadership shadow. Let me just put this on. It's always with you, just like I'm carrying this backpack now. It's heavy, always present, but because it's on my back, I can't see it. And as I move around, I have no idea what it's doing. And that's problematic. Why? Well, let's have a look at this. Imagine I'm trying to sit down on this chair with my leadership shadow, and I just wonder, hang on, something isn't quite right. This should be comfortable. Why is it so difficult? It should be easy to be on the chair. Something is wrong. Surely it must be the chair. Well, the same thing happens with your leadership shadow. You might struggle with conflicts, obstacles, and barriers at work, thinking this should be easier. Your leadership shadow could be sabotaging all your good intentions without you even realizing it. Let's look at another example using my backpack metaphor. Have you ever noticed people boarding overcrowded commuter trains with their backpack on? It's really annoying. I see it on the London Underground all the time. Why does it matter? Well, if people are already cramped like sardines in an overcrowded train, with your backpack on, you just take more space than is actually necessary. And you may make people around you feel uncomfortable because you have no idea where you are going. And you may even unintentionally hit other people. In the same way as I can hit all these bottles behind me and kick them off the shelf because I have no idea what my backpack is doing. It's not in my line of sight. And just as I knocked down these water bottles, you might be damaging relationships, your reputation, your team spirit, or even your business objectives without knowing. So what's the solution? Well, here's the bad news. You'll probably never completely get rid of your leadership shadow unless you commit your life to a deep psychological and spiritual journey that very few of us are willing to undertake. But the good news is you can learn how to manage your shadow more responsibly. How? Well, let's return to the backpack metaphor. I can take the backpack off. It's still here, I can't get rid of it, but I can reduce its impacts by placing it in front of me, between my legs, or somewhere else where it doesn't interfere with people around me. Next time you are on a crowded train, please do that. Now I know exactly where my shadow is, I can see it, and I can make sure it does not harm other people. And when I sit down, I can place the backpack on my lap, allowing me to sit comfortably. And maybe even one day, I'm brave enough to have a look inside. Understanding and managing your leadership shadow will be a quantum leap in your emotional intelligence and leadership impact. It's a fascinating and empowering journey that can transform your leadership exponentially. It starts with self-awareness, learning more about yourself, your strengths, your blind spots, development areas, and your shadow. And how do you do that? Well, there are many ways to begin. I recommend that you use coaching, therapy, 360 reviews, and other similar processes to engage in regular self-reflection and receiving honest feedback. I use the Enneagram growth model with my clients to help them uncover their blind spots, shadow sides, and their strengths very quickly. It's the most powerful personal growth tool that I have ever come across. It's like receiving an operating manual that tells you who you are, how you function, and most importantly, how to grow. If you'd like to learn more about this, check out the link below this video for more information. Working on your leadership shadow is one of the best things that you can do for yourself, your team, your organization, and indeed everyone else in your life. That's all for today. Speak to you soon.